G'day mate and welcome to a Captain's Guide to Forestry with me, JD. Today we're going to be covering forestry. That is everything from how to get tree saplings to actually plant the trees, how to actually chop down the trees, how the forestry control towers work. Also, we're going to cover all the numbers, all the ratios, all the formula you need to work out exactly how many plots of area you need to allocate for the exact amount of wood you need to cover your island's needs. But before we get into that, I need to ask a couple of things. One, I just like to borrow like. I like to borrow like early in the video, just before I fill your head with all the maths and the formula and all the other things that you're going to need to know. Well, you could know, optionally you could know, or you could just follow along with the guide to set up forestry. So I'd like to borrow like early in the video. Not happy with the video, didn't enjoy the video, by all means you can have your like back. At the same time, I am going to remind you that down the bottom in the in the video, there are chapters. There are chapters in case you need to come back and you need to refer to anything in the video. Hopefully the chapters will help you find the exact spot you need to double check and refer back to. Last thing I'm going to remind you is in the description and in the pinned comment below is a link to a playlist for a whole bunch of other Captain's tutorial videos. Highly recommend you check it out because the chances are you'll find a video on another topic that you could probably find some sort of use for. Also, we're going to be referring to a couple of those videos during this video because I've already got dedicated videos on other topics that we don't need to do a deep dive into in this video. So with that out of the way, let's talk about how forestry works. So first thing we're going to need is a buildings for vehicles. We need a forestry control tower, which once we pop down, works much the same as the mind control tower. That is the tower that controls the mind of the diggy boys and the dumpy boys allocated to that tower. The biggest difference with the forestry control tower is it doesn't actually need to have anything assigned to it. So it just magically works, which is very, very handy. Now, we need to talk through some of the buttons that are available on the forestry tower because, well, they're not available on the main hotbar. So we have the edit area button. The edit area button, very, very important. It means you can edit the area to wherever you want. In our case, we're going to max this out just for quick, easy math's sake for later on in the video. Also, there's the edit designation button. This is this is to say, hey, go plant some trees. I'm going to start with a nice simple 10 by 10 area just to get things started. Now, once we've edited an area, we're going to have tree planters come over and plant some trees. We'll talk about them in just a second. Also, we have, our cutting options. So any trees that are inside a forestry control tower area are going to get auto cut after, one of these options, either 100%, 80%, 60%, 40%, or never. Now, again, we're going to have to, step through these one by one. So, on Captain difficulty, I will mention this is Captain difficulty. On Sailor difficulty, obviously things are a little bit easier. On Admiral difficulty, you know what your settings were. When you click the OK button, it's entirely your fault. The game is harder than you expected. So, on Captain difficulty, your stock standard normal difficulty, we have our first option being we cut after 12 years and we get 20 wood, which actually translates into 1.6 wood per tree per year, which is really probably a very, very, that's probably going to be an important number we're going to need to carry forth. Okay. At 80% cut rate, we're going to cut it down after 9 years, and at 9 years, we're going to get 1.77 wood per sapling per year, which is also very, very important. It means that you actually get more wood if you cut it down at 80%, more wood per year at 80% cut rate. Finally, there is the 60% cut rate. The 60% cut rate is every 6.3 years, we're going to cut them down for 12 wood, which actually works out to be 1.9 wood per year, which means it's probably more profitable to cut them down at 60%. But we're not finished with all the maths there. We need to come back and talk about, replacement costs, yes. Also, there is the I'm desperate situation of the cut at 40%, which is every 5.3 years, and for that you're only going to get 8 wood, which works out to be 1.4 wood per year. Don't recommend that one. Last one is the no cut. No cut is, if you want to assign, some trees either side of roadways, in case you want to make some roads, you want to decorate them, you want to put down some trees, you can do that with the no cut option. Also, on top of that, you can also, and this is probably the place where I would use it, is if I'm setting up a new forestry area and I want to remove the old one, or I just want to set up forestry early whilst I'm still dealing with the old growth on the island, you can set it to the no cut rule, which means they're just not going to cut it, they're just going to let it grow for, well, forever essentially. On top of that, you can actually assign tree planters and tree harvesters to the actual tower. Once they're assigned, they only work at that tower and that tower only. They won't wander across the map. Personally, I like my tree harvesters and tree planters to be all free range, but we'll get into a bit of a deeper dive about that in a second. At cutting at 60% rather than 100%, we're going to be cutting it every 6.3 years rather than 12 years, which means we're going to need twice the amount of saplings, which means we should talk about the good old tree saplings, which is what the tree planters are going to need to actually be planting. So if we look at a irrigated farm, and I'm going to choose to use the greenhouse Mark 1 and the greenhouse Mark 2, I'm also going to assume 100% fertility of the soil. Now, I do have a deep dive into the different farm types, the pros and cons of each, along with the fertility and how soil fertility works, which I'll link up the top right-hand corner. Also, it'll be in that playlist in the pinned comment below. Really, really recommend you check that out if you want to better understand how farms and fertility work. But on a irrigated farm, here we go. Irrigated farm, every 12 months we get 60 tree saplings, which works out to be 5 per month. 5 per month, which is 60 per year. On the greenhouse, we would get 75 per year, which works out to be 6.3 per month because the greenhouse is a little bit more efficient at growing things, hence the slightly higher rate. And then, of course, the greenhouse Mark II, we get 90 per year, which is 7.5 per month, which means now we know if we assign a plot that is, well, a certain size, we know we're going to need a certain amount of saplings depending on our cut rate. So we need to work out how many saplings go in per tile. And for this, I'm going to pause because I don't really want these planted. Decorations. Mining. Can I do flat plays, and can we do just a 4x4? Nice simple 4x4. If I take a spruce tree and I plant that right in the middle of that tile, and then I come right into the first placement I can get, which is about here, and then right again there. Okay. So I planted 3 spruces in, well, some amount of range, but then I need to know if that's the X, we need to know the Y, which would be here, here, and here. And then same again, there, and there. Okay, which you might say, hang on, JD, that is a, 4x4, and you've only planted 9 trees. That is entirely correct. But also, these trees on the right-hand side are very close to this edge, which actually means they're going to be covering this tile. I cannot put a tree anywhere in this tile. Also, I can't put any trees in this tile, which means I've actually covered 9 trees in, what's that, a 5x5? Yeah, 9 trees in a 5x5, which brings me back to my plot here. My plot here is marked out to be 49 tiles by 49 tiles. And of course, the devs gave me 49 by 49 because they didn't believe in making my life easy and having some easy maths. But 49 by 49 is 2,401 tiles. Also means that I have already gone through the hassle, the joy, all depends on how you want to look at it. Can I remove those? Oh, really? You can't cut trees. Well, there you go. We all learned something new. I've already gone through the hassle or the joy, all depends on how you want to look at it, of planting this whole area multiple times. So we get the average plant rate. An average plant rate, which is going to be very, very important. You guys are very slow. Hang on, let me speed up the planty boys real quick. I've gone through the hassle of, doing the maths and having this whole area planted a couple of times to tell you that in a 2,401 tile area, I got on average about 800 trees planted. A little bit over 800, but we're going to go with 800 for easy maths, which means a tree takes up 3 of these designations. So now we know how many designations we're going to need to plant a tree. We also know when we cut down that tree, how much wood we're going to get per year per tree. Yep. Also, we now know how to get saplings, and therefore our cut rate is going to define how many saplings we're going to need. Because obviously, if I'm cutting down them every 6.3 years, I might get 1.9 wood per tree per year. But also, it's almost half what 12 years would be. Yeah. So it also means I'm going to need basically twice as many saplings, which is something you need to keep in mind. Depending on your cut rate, also increases your sapling need. Sapling plant rate, yes. And again, wood is an easy one to calculate. It only goes into really three things. It goes into construction parts, also goes into the glass rocking chairs, and finally goes to wood chips. Wood chips, of course, are used for paper, which of course used for lab equipment. So wood should be something that's fairly easy to calculate exactly how much you need island-wide per year. But that doesn't answer the other in question, which is how many tree planters do we need? Can I set you to, no, actually, we'll set you for max. Okay, how many tree planters do you need? And a lot of that depends on how you set them up. Because, well, we can see this little tree planter. This little tree planter, most of his time's actually being spent driving back and forth. Because my farms are on the other side of the map, and he obviously needs to pick up tree saplings and then drive all the way back across the island. Now, he doesn't mind. He really, really doesn't mind. He's happy driving back and forth because he can sit back, he can relax, he can drive, he has the wind in his hair, and, well, he's thingy sticking out the front, and he can just spend most of his time on the road. And he's perfectly fine doing that. Whereas the tree harvesters, they're a little bit smarter. They brought some extra trucks around to haul around the wood when they were done. Tree planter, not so much. So that brings us on to how do we set this whole operation up? And, well, there are three answers to that question. One is the I didn't watch any JD tutorials way, which is exactly what we have here. We have some tree planters, we have some tree harvesters. The tree planters shall plant, the harvesters shall harvest. That's it. Obviously, the closer you have your farms to your tree planting area, the less back and forth time you're going to have. Now, if you optimize this and had your saplings nice and close, well, each tree planter is going to do about 2.5 saplings planted per month. So if I have 4 of them, I'm going to get about 10 done per month, which means for an 800 by 8, well, for a 49 by 49 plot, being 2,401 tiles, but only 800 trees being planted, it's going to take me about 80 months, which if we did 80 divided by 12 means it'll take me about 6.6 years. So if I did a cut rate of 6.3 per year, that'd be fine. I have all the maths done. We could have a giant plot. I'd have 4 tree planters. I would also, can I just assign you all here so you actually come here? Because you guys are halfway across the map, aren't you? Yeah, come on. Then we need to have our tree harvesters. Now, again, tree harvesters, I've found with a large tree harvester can keep up with a tree planter, roughly. Again, it does depend on a couple of things, like where their fuel source is, and also how many trucks you have assigned. Because in my case, we might be planting right here, but my wood box is all the way over here. Now, I did say the tree planters were the tree harvesters. Tree harvesters were much smarter. They bring a certain amount of slave trucks who they left on the other side of the map. Oh my God, you guys are idiots. They brought a certain amount of trucks along with them to do the hauling back and forth. But again, the further it is A to B, the more trucks you need to assign to each particular tree harvester. So there are 3 ways we can solve this problem. As I said, there is the JD, I didn't watch any JD tutorials way, which is what we have here. It works. They're going to plant the trees. Eventually, can I set you to 40%? Yep, set it 40%, and eventually they'll stop chopping, start chopping rather, and eventually their trucks will pop across, and wow. Yeah, 40% might be too low. We maybe should go for 60%. No, the whole lot would have to be planted. It's all right. Eventually we'll have enough wood in one of these trucks. They would drive it back to there and then dump it off and then bring it back. But we have another option that works very, very well, where we can use the advanced logistics of the tower to optimize things a little bit. And that's the next thing we're going to look at. So this is the second method for, well, having a little bit more optimization. We can have a box and a box. You are going to be saplings, which we're going to put here, and you are going to be wood. Now, with our 2 boxes set up, we can then set up an export route and an import route. So I would like to import saplings from here. That means I'm only going to get saplings from this box. Now, I can't set this box to keep full, otherwise I get an error message. Turn this on. Invalid route, because I can't have a box stay full and have people take things out of it. It doesn't work like that. So I need to leave it like that and hope that saplings end up in this box. Same goes for my wood supply box. We can say export route, and we can say put the wood in that box. which works fine. Also means that rather than me having to have about 3 trucks assigned to each one of these guys, I can probably get away with just 1 truck each. So it's going to cut down the total number of trucks we need, and it means that, again, the tree planters don't have to drive nearly as far to go get their wood. But it does also bring us to another catch, and that is I need to actually assign, well, these guys to this box, well, to this tower, to be able to pick up stuff from this box. I also need to assign my tree harvesters to, well, oh, no, that's a tree planter. I need to assign my tree harvesters to the tower as well, which means that they're, well, linked to these 2 items. They're very, very much locked in, which is okay. It works. It works. This is the way the Forestry Control Tower is intended to work, but we no longer have free range. We don't have free range tree planters and tree harvesters. They're very, very much locked into, well, this box, which is fine, providing you have 1 or 2 large areas for all your tree planting, not 5 or 6 or 10, which is how I would actually set things up. Are we going to fill up a truck? Soon? TM? No. Oh, well, we can see our first problem. There's no saplings in the box. So because there's no saplings in the box, they won't go anywhere to go get saplings. Yeah, they're stuck here, waiting for saplings to be delivered, which means I'm now relying on logistics from the rest of the map. Again, like, this is the intended way. This is the intended way. The intended way is to have everything else work correctly. And then up. Come on, I want to see one of these load up. Hey, we finally put wood in a box. Cool. So we now have wood in the box, and then in theory, again, one of the other logistics teams will come and pick up the wood from the box and take it over here to, well, this is the only place I have my wood, and this will eventually remove all the wood, from the box, and we'll burn it because I just needed a way to dispose of wood. Okay, so this is the intended way for this system to work. And then, well, let's jump into the JD Way. The JD Way is heavily optimized to use advanced logistics. Now, I will mention very, very quickly, I'm going to link the video up in the top right-hand corner. I have a whole dedicated video on advanced logistics, which I really, really recommend you watch. You can really optimize your traffic flow and your truck flow with advanced logistics, providing you set it up correctly. It's very, very important you set it up correctly, because with great logistics comes great responsibility. And oh my God, if you set it up wrong, you can end up sitting around wondering why your truck's not doing the basic things they were doing previously. And 9 times out of 10, it's because, well, they're doing exactly what you told them to do, and you told them to do the wrong things because you started meddling with advanced logistics and you weren't sure what you were doing. Anyway, with that out of the way, we're going to be using advanced logistics, and we're going to be using them in a different way to what they're intended. So we're going to need, obviously, a forestry control tower. And the advantage of this system is, well, previously we used the towers, we used the import and the export rules. We're not going to be doing that today. We're going to make sure that our trucks are completely free range, which is really one of the advantages of this system. Now, if I drag this out to here, to here, to here, that is the same 49 tiles that we had previously. Well, 49 by 49, which is exactly what we're going to be doing, except rather than assuming this is one area, I'm going to assume this is 2 areas, okay? Because there is no need to have one dedicated area for your forestry. Also, having 49 by 49, we're on the Coland map, and having this much free area, just free for just trees, is going to be very, very difficult. On my Let's Play, in my creator map, I can guarantee you I'm not going to have this much free space. Not as one continuous area. Many, many small continuous areas, maybe, but not as one single area. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to split this in half. We're going to have 2. We're going to have 1 do here, and we're going to have 1 do here. Now, you could assume this would be 2 side by side. You could assume this would be 1 on one side of the map, 1 on the other side of the map. It really doesn't matter, as long as, you know, we're going to assume that they're separated in some way, shape, and form. Now, the most important thing is I want to make sure that logistics-wise, I make sure that my tree planters and my tree harvesters have the highest uptime possible. I want them working. I don't want them driving back and forth. So we're going to start with some bare basics. First off, I want storage. I want a fluid tank. We're going to put 1 here. I'm also going to put 1, well, with the other farm, and we're going to set this to diesel. We're going to drag that slider all the way up to mostly full, and we're going to get that one built. We're also going to get that one built. All right, next thing I want to do is I want to make sure that I have, well, both tree saplings and also somewhere to put wood locally. Now, if I use this tool to start with, we can say that that's about halfway. Also, I can say height-wise, that's about halfway as well. So right here in the middle, I want to put in a couple of boxes. We're going to go box 1, box 2. Can I slide them just left a tile? Cool. And box 3 and box 4. This one's going to be saplings. This one is also going to be saplings. This one is going to be wood. And this one is also going to be wood. Okay, so with our boxes built and set up, I want to duplicate them into my other tree area. Let's go with about there and get that built, and that built. All right, so I have saplings. Now, I want to have saplings available locally to the tree planters. I also want to make sure that the tree harvesters have somewhere to put their wood, because in our previous example, which has now had some time to run, well, they're going to put wood into here. Now, once the wood goes into there, I need to make sure it actually goes into where I want my wood to go in the final place. So I need to have a keep full marked on this, which is fine. We can do that. Also means that these tree planters and these tree harvesters that are assigned to this tower are stuck at this tower. They can't go anywhere, which you might say, okay, that's fine, JD. I don't mind if I have, them all stuck in one area. But again, that assumes that you just have one area planting for trees. Whereas, well, I'm about to have 2 or 3 or 4 or however many I decided. It really doesn't matter. The point is you could have multiples. So what I want to do is I want to make sure that, my tree saplings, I want to make sure I have some saplings. So we're going to drag this bar up. We're just going to drag it up 1 bar. I only need 1 bar in here because, well, this box, tree saplings are going to come to this box and then they're going to flow into this box and therefore they're available locally right here. So I also want to import from here. That is the only place I want you to get saplings from. This is the only place I'm growing saplings, so that is the only place I want to bring saplings from. All right, and then I want to copy those settings and paste them to that one as well. We'll need them identical. And as we can see, I now have a whole bunch of saplings in the front box that is now available to, well, whoever's locally. As for my wood, I want to do the exact same, except I don't want to set this to only ship to there. I want it to ship to wherever we might need wood. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to set an empty bar. And I'm going to say, look, don't empty it all the way empty. It doesn't have to be all the way empty. If there's 1 wood in there, that's perfectly fine. I want to make sure, well, it's 72 is fine. 100 is about better because, well, you guys normally carry 60 wood. If you turn on the overload trucks edict, they can carry more. So 72 wood, they can actually carry 78 from memory. 78 total. So I want to aim for about 100. If there's more than 100 wood in here, come pick some up, which more importantly means they can drive a whole truckload out and deliver it to wherever it needs to go. So I'm going to paste that to there and that to there. Also means that this, rather than having to set a request here, I can set that to 0. And what's going to happen is the wood is going to get pushed out of this location into, well, any location that needs wood. It means I don't have to go around and make sure I have all the requests set correctly. I don't need to make sure I need to use the advanced logistics to hook up this wood export box to somewhere else or anything like that. We're going to use the push method, i.e. when there's wood in here, push it out to anywhere where wood may be able to go. Okay, so with that done, we're then going to go to you and we're going to edit the designation and I'm going to apply this whole area. Okay, there to there plus there to there. Cool. All right, you can see I have lost some tiles. What, 1, 2, 3, 4, 8 tiles, because I've chosen to put these in the middle. Because they're in the middle, they are, well, as close as possible for the tree planters to access. And we have, like I said, 2 different forestry control areas. Let's just separate them by tile. Edit area there to there, and edit area there to there. All right. And again, I might set one of these for 60% cut speed and set the other one for 100% cut speed. Can I also release you guys? Cool. All right, and then we just need to have a lot of planting done, an awful lot of planting done. And unfortunately, I've only got 4 tree planters available. Well, because the other 4 are assigned to this tower. Because they're assigned to that tower, they can't wander off and help out anywhere else. So let's just run the game a little bit faster and see how far they get. Now, the other important thing is fuel tank wise, they only, well, they're a tier 1 vehicle, so they carry about 12 fuel. And because we have these local fluid storages, we don't have a fueling station hooked into them. We don't need a fueling station hooked into them. By all means, you could add a fueling station and a dedicated fueling truck. But as they are, they will, when they run out of fuel, drive to the nearest fluid storage for diesel and just top up their fuel tanks. Same applies for the tree harvesters. They'll actually do the exact same. So they'll just drive over to a local fuel storage and pick up fuel when they need fuel, not when they feel like it. When they need fuel, yes. Also, on top of that, you might notice that these guys only have one truck assigned to them. The reason is they're going to be working right here. And when they dump their wood, they're going to be dropping into a local box. As you can see, this box is not requesting wood. It's happy to have wood. There we go. We're doing a refueling run right now. They're going to drive to the closest box and drop off their wood. Now, that wood is obviously, as these two boxes are directly connected, going to fall through to the front box, at which point it's going to get pushed out to the next one. And as we can see, we have got 3 over here, but 1 decided to refuel over here. So he's moved on to, well, this area, and he's now started planting this area, which, as I said, this is the real advantage of the JD system. It's modular. So whether you have 2 large plots, whether you have 1 large plot, whether you happen to have 5 tiny little plots, you can set up a forestry control tower, and as long as you have room for these storages and fuel reasonably close, or you have dedicated fuel trucks, then that solves the whole problem. You can have these anywhere you want and just throw down trees and tiles where you can. I did give the example earlier of, well, a roadway. You might want to have trees to either side of the roadway, and luckily enough, I actually have a perfect example where I have a roadway with a couple of trees either side. And these are, again, another tower. And again, if I was not happy with 1 tile trees, I could take this out to 2 tile trees. We'll do 3 tiles on one side and 2 tiles on the other. And because I have nothing assigned here, then it means eventually the tree planters will pop over here and get this done once they run out of local jobs, because that's really what they're doing. They're looking for local jobs. So they're going to do the local jobs first, and then once they've run out, they'll move on to the next destination, which might be the other side of the map, might be the other direction on the map, or we might end up with enough work that because we have the tree harvesters coming in and harvesting so often, that they might end up just staying in one location. Also, it means that, yes, I can have 2 different designations harvesting different rates, because we did cover earlier that at 60% you get the most wood per sapling, but you're also spending the most amount of saplings. In fact, because you're cutting basically twice as often, you are spending twice as many saplings. The maths was on the screen earlier, but for a 60% over a 400 tiles, we end up with silly off. These don't output. There we go. Okay. We've all moved on to this one because that one's full. Yeah. So because we have a 60% cut rate, it means that we need twice as many saplings. So like I said, the maths was on the screen earlier, and we had a situation where we were going to go through 10 saplings per month at a 60% growth rate for around about 1,500 wood per year. Whereas at a 100% cut rate, we go through half as many saplings, being 5 saplings rather than 10, which means rather than having 2 irrigated farms, I could have just 1 irrigated farm. And our overall wood cost goes from, well, our overall wood gain, that's the word I'm looking for, goes from 1,500 down to 1,300. Also means that I now don't need 2 planters. I get away with, I don't need 4 planters. I get away with 2 planters. Also means I get away with 2 harvesters, which means my total workforce, well, in this scenario, is I'm guaranteed that I'm going to need 4 planters. I'm also going to guaranteed I need 4 harvesters. I'm also guaranteed I need 4 trucks to do this one dedicated area. That's a total of 12 vehicles guaranteed. Possibly more if you use the worst system. The not assigning anybody and just letting them free range roam, as in you then need a lot more trucks per tree harvester. Whereas here, well, like I said, I can cut it down to the same number of 12, or if we then go for 100% cut rate, well, then we can cut that number down even lower to, well, 2 planters, 2 harvesters, and therefore 2 trucks, a total workforce of just 6 vehicles. And there we go. We've reached that magic 60% cut rate, at which point these guys are going to start getting harvested. Meanwhile, we've already got 1 planter up there who's replanting. The rest of them are finishing up over here. And like I said, I have 2 different zones with 2 different cut rates. Or, because the way this is set up, I could have 4 or 5 or 6. And if they ever have any downtime, well, then they're going to come over and do this. If I set this for, well, 100% cut rate, then in theory, the tree cutters, once they run out of jobs here, which they're going to do probably reasonably quickly, they could then fly over the other side of the map. Also, we might notice the wood is getting thrown in here. And then once we get over that 108, we will notice, there we go. We will notice somebody's going to come over here, pick this up and drag it over here. Now, you may have an issue. It may be an issue depending on where these are located to one another. That you may have wood getting driven from one box to another box. You can alleviate that with setting an export route to it can only go there and an export route to it can only go there. That means that it is only going to go from A to B. It does mean that you need to make sure that you set the export routes to every single box on the world the way you're intending a wood coming in. As we did cover earlier, wood is only used for really three things. Construction parts, also the glass rocking chairs for household goods, also wood chips for science. Providing you only use it for 3 locations, it's only probably a couple of boxes. But in saying that, if you happen to be turning a whole lot of wood into a whole lot of coal for burning in other processes, you may have wood around the map randomly, at which point it really comes up down to you, you know, which is probably the easiest method for you. And I think I'm short a tree harvester. Am I short a tree harvester? I am. So tree harvester's popped over here. And again, because we don't have local boxes here, because I never set up local boxes here, well, we can see that his truck is right behind him. And then he's going to have to drive all the way across the map because he doesn't have anywhere local to put them. If I copy this, and that's the other thing, this becomes infinitely very, very quickly expandable, and put this right here. And here's your truck now. Once he's full, he's going to put into this box. There we go. And he's going to go get fuel, of course, just to make my life a... Yep. Okay. Then he's going to drop in there and I'll get pushed into that box, at which point it's ready again. Same story. He went to go get fuel and he's going to drop it here. That's why I said you need to have the 3 basics. The 3 basics locally being fuel, also saplings, and also wood storage. And once these guys are finished mowing through this area, eventually the tree planters, once they catch up on work, will go over and do that area as well. And this is the real advantage of the JD system. So they are your 3 options. This is completely how we're going to cover forestry. Forestry for your local captain, your wonderful captain. At the same time, I'm going to remind you, if you found this video helpful, you want to see more Captain Minister tutorial videos like this one, please consider clicking the subscribe button. At the same time, that like I asked earlier in the video, could I borrow it? Can I keep it now? Can I keep it now? Or if you didn't throw it on earlier, can I have that like now? I'd very, very much appreciate it. Anyway, with all that said and done, I'm going to leave this video here. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. Do hope you've enjoyed, and I'll see you in the very next video. All right, bye.